We are kicking off the second half of day 2 of WFS Live. And just as every coach says in that halftime interval, to try and rally the troops, hard first 15, boys. Hard first 15, girls. Let's make a really good start to the second half. And I'm sure we're going to be doing that with this next panel, and I'll introduce it to you shortly. But if you've just joined us, or if you're maybe trying to catch up on some of the panels that you hadn't seen before, you missed, you were otherwise engaged, don't worry. We've got all bases covered for you. So 24 hours after it's originally broadcast here on this World Football Summit platform on WFS Live, you can watch it again on demand. Also, if you've got friends or family who want to engage with the content, maybe you want to spread the word and tell them about it, but they're not delegates here, direct them to the Live Now global platform. So they're available on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also LinkedIn. And all you need to do is just search for Live Now as one word, global. And they themselves are also providing on-demand content from this event. So you can check either of those out. And indeed, YouTube. It's going to be on the World Football Summit YouTube channel in the weeks to come. If you want to have a little glance back at what we've been doing this week, you'd be more than welcome to. So we're going to be talking about purpose as a strategic business driver. I mentioned before, the word purpose has come up a lot. And I think it's right that we should do so. It's time to reflect after the coronavirus hiatus. We're now back in with our football seasons, our other sporting seasons. Is it a chance to push sport in the direction that we feel that we should, not chasing dollars, euros, yen, pound sterling, but actually purpose driven? And I wonder whether actually it's not just an exercise in CSR, it's actually a strategic business objective as well. Football is so brilliant a driver, isn't it, of positive social change. It's got unmatchable power, and we've seen evidence of that even more in this last year. It's great to see, in fact, that more individuals, clubs, leagues, governing bodies, organisations as a whole are sensing that responsibility far and above their usual roles and wanting to be involved in humanitarian activities, especially the projects established recently to fight the coronavirus, but strategically to drive business as well. Now, this session is brought to you in collaboration with 17 Sport. We'll now look at some of those beacon examples, showcasing the best practice, and we'll do so in the company of the following. These are your speakers for this next session. The Chief Business Officer at Betis Balompié, Ramón Alarcón, Chief Purpose Officer at Oakland Roots, Mike Geddes, and the founder and president of Angel City, Julie Uhrman, and guiding the discussion for us, CEO and founder at 17 Sport, Neill Duffy. Neill, looking forward to another fascinating session here.
Great, thank you, David. Yeah, it's very exciting. I don't think we would be having this conversation 2 years ago. Things are evolving rapidly within the world of sport when it comes to purpose, which is great because, to be honest, I think the industry has been lagging the business sector for many years. So great to have Julie, Mike, and Ramón with me today. 3 people that I consider to be leading organizations that are great examples of purpose-led football clubs. One focusing on the community, one on gender equity and women's rights, and the other on the environment. So a good spread of issues. Just to start off today, I think what hopefully you'll take away from this session, and we'll recap at the end, is that purpose is really a business conversation. As David already mentions, it's a strategic initiative. It's about doing good and doing well. It's not just about doing good. And so hopefully after the conversation over the next half an hour, we will have been able to convince you of that. So Mike, I'm going to start with you first of all. Chief Purpose Officer at the Oakland Roots. I think probably the first Chief Purpose Officer in sport in the world, certainly that I've come across. And I think that's a fitting title for the role that you play at Oakland Roots and what Oakland Roots have done as a sports club to really embrace purpose. So if you could, in a couple of minutes, firstly, just take a minute or two to explain what purpose means to Oakland Roots, how you frame that, and how you would help to convince people that purpose is not the same as CSR.
Yeah, thanks, Neill. It's a pleasure. And for those of you who don't know, the Oakland Roots Sports Club, we play in the USL in the United States. We're a pretty new team, only been around for a couple of years. And we are a purpose-driven sports team. That means that we have a purpose which acts as a guiding principle or a North Star for everything we do. In our case, that purpose is to harness the magic of Oakland and the power of sports as a force for social good. And that means that that purpose sits above all the other traditional metrics of success for professional sports teams, like winning games or being financially successful. Those things are important to us. They are part of our vision of success of the club, but they are in service of this higher purpose. And what that means is that that purpose is everywhere throughout every decision that we make. Every decision that the team makes, that the organization makes, is seen through the prism of that purpose. And as part of the commitment to that, we have a role, which is my role, the Chief Purpose Officer, and my role within the team. And as you said, it's a little bit unusual for sports teams, is to operate with every single department function that the organization has, from ticketing to revenue to sponsorships to the technical side, and make sure that everything that the club is doing is aligned behind that purpose. And we do have traditional community-focused, what would often be called CSR activities, but they're just a part of how the organization lives up to its purpose. They are not the kind of sole place where purpose resides. So my function goes across every single aspect of what the organization does. And as you said at the start there, the reason for this is that we believe this is the way that our team can be the most successful. So that by placing the purpose above everything else, it's actually going to make us better able to hit our targets when it comes to revenue, when it comes to social impact, when it comes to performance. So that's really, for me, what being purpose-driven means.
And Mike, what is that purpose? How do you articulate that, and how does that play out? What's your focus?
Yeah, our purpose. Sure. Our purpose is to harness the magic of Oakland and the power of sports as a force for social good. So our purpose is really taking all of the amazing qualities that exist within the city of Oakland, elevating them and making sure that our team represents that, our organization represents that, and that the team is part of making a healthier, safer, more successful, more equitable future for the city of Oakland. So what we are trying to do is redefine the success metrics of our team away from, okay, did the Roots win this season? Did the Roots lose this season? To how did the Roots contribute to the overall health of the city of Oakland? Because that's ultimately what we see as our purpose. We just happen to be expressing that through being a professional sports organization. And we see our role as functioning with all the other actors within the city of Oakland to achieve that greater shared purpose.
So just want to highlight that point. So your purpose is not to win the league or to win the next championships. It's about serving this higher purpose of making Oakland a better place, using football as a platform to do that.
Yeah, that's correct. And winning championships is an important part of that. We want to do that. But we have a purpose which sits above that goal. Same thing as being financially sustainable. We can't exist or do anything if we're not financially sustainable and successful. So that is also part of it. But yeah, everything is aligned behind what we often call our North Star, the purpose that keeps everyone on the same track.
Great. Julie, if I can come to you next. So I'm sorry to get you out of bed so early this morning. I know it's very early in LA, just like it is here in the Bay Area, where Mike and I are both based. But it'd be great if you could share with listeners a couple of minutes on Angel City and the purpose that you've decided to build your business around, and then segue into how that's been useful, valuable as a driver of positive commercial outcomes for you so far.
Yeah, great. Happy to. So I'm Julie Uhrman. I'm the president and founder of Angel City Football Club, which is the newest women's professional soccer club as part of the National Women's Soccer League here in the U.S. We have been at this for about a year, trying to establish ourselves and really define our identity. And very early on, we talked about the fact that Angel City Football Club was bigger than a game. We knew we were building this club in a very unique moment of time, not only on the backs of the women winning the World Cup, really being seen as the best, professional women's soccer player in the world, but also in this moment in time where there's a really strong female movement. I don't know any other way of saying it, whether it's around leadership or equality, but there's this really unique moment in time that we wanted to capture, and felt that if we built Angel City Football Club in the right way, we could amplify and even build awareness for what we were doing and really try to make positive change. And so as we talked about being bigger than in the game, what we honed in on is that we wanted to build an organization where mission and capital could coexist, where we could focus on the 11 players on the field and the number of stands in the arena, but also make positive change in our local community. And it really came into focus as we were putting together our ownership group. we built Angel City very differently. Instead of having 2 or 3 majority owners, we actually have an ownership group of nearly 60 people, and it runs the gamut from Hollywood celebrities to 99er all-stars such as Mia Hamm and Julie Foudy, Abby Wambach, Saskia Weber, Amanda Cromwell. We have 14 former U.S. women's national team players. We have other Olympians such as Lindsey Vonn. We have MLS owners such as Kobe Jones, and then actresses who really understand their role in the world as far as how they can use their platform to make a difference. So Eva Longoria and America Ferrara, who started She Said Puerta, which helped get out the Latina vote in this last election, to Jennifer Garner and Jessica Chastain and Uzo Aduba. So we have all these incredible people who understand how to use their voice for good, and we wanted to bring that into the soccer club. So as we built Angel City Football Club, we identified our purpose as setting higher expectations on and off the field. And as we broke that down, we developed 3 different pillars to do that. And those fall into the categories of equality, essentials, and education. So Neill, as you introduced us early, equality for us can be both addressing pay equity for the players, but it can also be about representing women-owned businesses here in Southern California, or leaning into communities that are strong, underrepresented communities, and trying to make a difference. And so from a very tactical perspective, like walking the walk and talking the talk, everything that Angel City does has an element of purpose. When we announced that we were bringing a club to Los Angeles, we also announced a partnership with LA84 Foundation here, which uses sports to address social injustice. When we announced our first hire, Neill, which you're speaking about, how does this translate into the profitability side? Because as Mike said, it's great to have a business and it's great to have purpose, and it's great to try to make a difference. But if you don't have enough funds to be there the next day, you're not really making much purpose. So it's about how do you combine, your passion and purpose to lead to some sort of profitability. And so we took that really seriously. And when we made our first hire of our head of corporate partnerships, who's going to sell all our LAD time and sell all the items on our kit, we also announced that 10% of all of our sponsorship revenue would go back to community through impact. So every single time we do something on the soccer side of the house, we're doing something on the mission side of the house to address equality and impact.
And how's that? And how are the corporate partners that you're speaking to responding to that, Julie?
I mean, I keep asking Jessica Smith, who runs corporate partnerships, are these conversations normal? Because we get off the phone and, we're going to close our jersey sponsors in 2 to 3 weeks. I think the average is 6 months. We spend 99% of the conversation talking about the programs we're going to do together and what we're going to impact. We announced our first partnership with Heineken, and we're going to lean into the community, specifically the LGBTQ community. We're putting together programs. We're going to address food insecurity, education, wellness, climate change. And those are things that our partners care about: equality, supporting women-owned businesses with a partnership we're going to announce in a couple weeks. And so it's actually incredibly rewarding because these brands are used to, spending all this time negotiating about one extra minute of LED time in the stadium, or one extra social post, or one extra content series. And our conversations are really about what's the impact we want to have in the community? How do we want to show the world that this is happening to, again, draw awareness to the issue and to amplify it? And then, there's going to be these soccer elements too, but it's not even the minority. It's barely part of the conversation. That ends up in a term sheet that gets emailed. It's not what we talk about.
So isn't that amazing? So I think I'm correct in saying you'll play your first game in 2022. So you don't even have a team yet. All this interest.
Yeah, we don't have a team. We don't have coaches. We don't take the pitch until 2022. What we do have is an incredibly active set of founding investors who want to lean into what it is we're doing. And we're so fortunate that we have an incredible supporters group already. We have 3 that believe in diversity and equality and inclusivity, believe with us in setting higher expectations and really reshaping the game and how we think about today bringing a new company to life, leading with purpose. So we have a lot of assets that we can lean into. So even with these sponsorship conversations that we're having, they don't start in 2022. They actually start like day 1 of 2021, so that we can start making the impact and start showing up in the community and start developing that emotional connection with the brand and with our community and with our supporters groups, so that when 22 happens, there's even a greater excitement to join, our army of fans and come to games, but also make a difference.
That's excellent. So that's a good segue, Ramon, into the work that you guys are doing at Real Betis. I'd love you to tell us a little bit about Forever Green, your environmental program, and the problem that you're trying to solve, and really interested to understand, why you've done this. Why as a La Liga team did you think it was a good idea to develop an environmental program?
Okay, it's true that we have our purpose in our companies, our mission is they get the happiness from our fans, but for us it's very important not only the goals that we achieve, but also the way that we get it. I think our fans, they like to be proud of the way we are running the club, not only the final results. So in this framework, as myself, as a member as a CBO and as a member of the board, I have noticed that, as Julie said, for the brands and for our fans, it's very important the impact concerning about what are you doing if you have some values behind, not only a commercial action. If you are just thinking about the awareness of the GPR, you can go and to buy advertising wherever you want, but in an institution like Real Betis with a lot of people, with a lot of engagement, a lot of loyalty, we have to try to create this engagement with some values that make a link between your company and the community. So thinking about that, we are the green team because we were in green. And 3 years ago, we had the opportunity to found a sponsor. His name was Green Earth, and it was an IT company based on blockchain technology, and they use the token, the blockchain, for selling tokens to maintain the forest in Costa Rica. So with that, guys, we enter in contact with the United Nations. And with them, we sign in the program Climate Neutral Now. There are the other companies, and from the United Nations, they talked to us that it was incredible that there are 300 companies in this program, and once Real Betis joined into the program, the awareness has increased a lot. So say okay, so it's incredible the power you have as a speaker, as a louder to spread an idea. So this is why we decide to keep moving in this idea of being the green team. And after United Nations, we also enter in contact with Amazon. They have a program, Climate Pledge. So we also enroll our team there. So now we say, okay, I think we can be the member to be in the middle, to try to link many companies that they are trying to do things in the environmental issue, and with specific actions to be more active, because we have to start doing things right now. And we think that our fans, and not only our fans, but all the community will be proud that a football team leading an idea like that to try to help different companies to create projects in environmental issue topics. So this is the idea about Forever Green, to try to be a framework, an umbrella where everybody can work together to try to do programs in terms to achieve goals with environmental metrics.
Mm-hmm. And how are the fans reacting to this, Ramon? Have you spoken to the fans yet about what they think of these actions?
Yes, the fans, the reaction was incredible, because since we announced this program, the feedback that we have received has been very, very, very good. But the real feedback that has been incredible comes from our sponsors. The current sponsors, they are very happy that we have introduced ourselves in that area, in that material, because some years ago everybody was asking for digital assets, but now they are asking for values, to create a story. So and they are when you arrive to them saying, okay, let's do something for the forest, for the community in terms of environmental, all of them become very happy. But not only our current sponsorship, but many companies that they were not investing in soccer or in football or in the sport industry, they are now coming to us saying, okay, let's try to do things together because I'm really interested about what we are doing because the environmental issue is something that we are very aware of.
Excellent. So there are 3 great examples of purpose and action. So thank you for sharing those stories with us. I get so excited when I listen to the 3 of you talk about what you do because it's for me it's the future and not only the future of the world but the future of sport. And I think if one is to criticize the way that sport has operated traditionally, it's been very reactive to things. So there's a crisis and sport either throws money at it, makes a donation, sets up a committee or does something, and sometimes it seems like sports just really doing this to try and put a band-aid over the problem without really addressing the issues. So Mike, I'd love to talk a little bit about how your commitment to purpose at Oakland Roots actually helped you to lean into the social and racial justice situations that we faced here in the US earlier in the year. Because I think it sets you up to authentically respond to something as opposed to just appear to be doing something.
Yeah, I think for us it was probably it was a difficult time in society, but in terms of for us and how we responded, it was actually quite simple. I think that we simply just kind of examined what our purpose is, why the team was founded, what the makeup of our fans is, the makeup of our playing staff, and responded with that lens. And that meant it was simple for us to make a decision about what to put on social media. I think for other teams, it was more difficult because people are thinking about trade-offs between sponsors and profile and certain messages. And for us, that purpose is who we are. So the response to everything that was going on in the way that we felt was most appropriate and most in line with our purpose, in the way that we talked about it, in the way that we supported our players, many of whom were taking part in protests. This was just very, very natural for us. We did a lot of listening to what our players were telling us, what people in our organization were telling us, and then created our responses based on that. And I think that it was us and the NWSL teams who were some of the first to respond publicly to talk about what was going on. Obviously, everyone else, as you said, Neill, then catches up when people realize, which way that the public opinion is falling. But yeah, for us, it was a very, very difficult moment in society, but a good opportunity for us actually just to live the purpose that we were founded on. So yeah, a very difficult time for us, for our playing staff, for our fans, but a great opportunity for us to live our purpose, and actually we've come out of that much more committed, even more committed that living that purpose is the way for us to be successful.
And it created an opportunity for you to actually create some new programming, some new content, some new ways of engaging with people, didn't it?
It did. And, when we were thinking how to return to play after the break, after we were able to safely return to play, it was very important for us that we didn't just kind of pop back up on the field and just get on with business as usual. And we made sure that we talked to our players about how they wanted us to support them in however they wanted to respond. So there were a number of different initiatives that were created by our players in terms of things that they represented on their jerseys. We organized a specific match, something called the Justice Match, which was a mixed gender event, a football match featuring our first team and some female players aimed at promoting awareness of racial and gender equity. We also managed to raise over $50,000, which we used to create a justice fund, which we're now using to support causes at the intersection of race and gender justice. And really, we just thought about how we could use our entire platform, everything that we are as a football club, in order to respond appropriately to what our players and fans were telling us they wanted to do. And that was very successful for us because our fans responded to it well, and I think they appreciated it. And we were fortunate enough to raise a lot of money. We were fortunate enough to generate a lot of interest, a lot of awareness, which is useful right now, right? Because all of the sports teams are struggling with the pandemic and not being able to have fans in stadiums. So the ability to have ways to connect with our fan base that go beyond just being able to show up on the field is tremendously important. And it's important for us to stay relevant and have people engaging with the team, engaging with the brand. That's better for us from a business perspective as well. So really, it's just it made a lot of sense, and it was a very natural response.
Great. So just the results back from the poll that we just took. As a consumer, are you more likely to support brands aligned with a worthy cause? Surprise, surprise, 67% said yes. 25% said depends on the price-value relationship, and 8% said no. So anyway, I wonder who the 8% are. Julie, thanks for that, Mike. Julie, if I can come to you, I always say that purpose is a team sport, and collaboration is a key value of being a purpose-driven organization. I know that's something that's important to you at Angel City as well. And as you respond to that, I'd also be interested to hear your thoughts on where impact can be made. Can impact only be made in your backyard, or do you have the potential as Angel City to have an impact on a broader geography?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting running a soccer club and leading with purpose, right? Because at the end of the day, the product you want to put on the field is excellent, and the experience you want your fans to have is, joyful, delightful experience, right? So you want to do something that's fun. You want to build something that's fun, and you don't want to lose the fun in what you're doing. And I've found, that we'll go weeks and weeks and weeks and talking about a purpose, and we just get super serious, right? And you have to ultimately build a product that people want to come to, right? Just as much as they want to believe in you, they also want to, I'm so sorry, they also want to sort of enjoy, the end product. And so we do think about that. Our ambition as a club is to be a global brand. And that is not only to have our crest recognizable around the world, but we also want our impact to be felt around the world. And so what we start here in Southern California, we'd like to amplify globally. It's just going to take time, and we want to be thoughtful about that. And to your point, it is a team sport. So where do we focus is really important. When we were early on identifying what purpose meant to us and how we wanted to show up in the world, we had this incredible conversation with a woman by the name of Renata Simrel, who runs LA 84. And she asked us a very important question. She said, do you want to have immediate impact, or do you want to have, or do you want to create systemic change? Like, what's more important to you? Immediate impact might be felt by fewer people, and its impact may be fleeting on the world stage, but obviously very important to the people that you're impacting. Or do you want to affect systemic change, which is really trying to address the actual problem, right? Not the results of the problem. And in the case that you do address systemic change, recognize that is a long-term commitment. It's not going to happen overnight. It could take a year. It could take 3 years. It could take 5 years. Where does Angel City fit on that pendulum on, immediately felt impact, or, impact on a systemic change level? And probably not surprising, even over the last, 15 minutes that you've heard me talk, is, our answer was yes. We want to do both, right? Because we happen to be in a world where immediate impact can be felt and be pretty significant. Certainly as kids are homeschooling today, as the world is really struggling with racial injustice, female equality. But there's also, larger issues that we have to address top down, which is also why, we didn't build the club only with women. We get this question a lot, like, why aren't your founders entirely women? And the reality is, I don't know if you've ever been in a room with all women, but, we tend to agree on these issues of female equality and pay equality. So we're not really changing minds, right? We're not really making the change that we need if we're not inclusive of everybody who's touching the problem, right? So we can all then be part of the solution. And so we were very thoughtful to include men in our founding ownership group, to make sure that our team is incredibly diverse and inclusive, although having a majority women-led, women-founded, women-funded team is very important to us. So, Neill, going back to your question, though, we do want to have a global impact. We want to have local impact. We believe that we have this platform that allows us to amplify what we're doing. Eventually, the club can do it, specifically the players, but we have an incredible founding ownership group who combined have close to 200 million followers on social. So we believe that the impact we can make here can be seen around the world, and then hopefully we have the scale and the capability to replicate it. Right.
So, Ramón, the problem that you guys are trying to solve or contribute towards solving at Betis is a huge one, the issue of climate change. So it's one thing to talk about stuff. You used the word action earlier on when you spoke. What are some of the actions that you're actually integrating into the way that you run the club that make this whole initiative authentic?
Okay, we have divided the plan in 5 different areas. There are 3. The first one is recycling. So we want to help our fans to recycle. So we want to motivate them to change the way they do the things. Another thing is about mobility. In that area, we want to work with the public administration to change the way the people comes to the stadium using a mobility way. And then finally, it's very important for us also to change the way we are doing the things in our club, because to change the climate change, the first step is start changing the way you are doing the things yourself. So I think we have to be a model. So we are changing completely all the way we are doing things here in our stadium. For example, the way we are cleaning the stadium is not with chemical products, but with natural products. So things like that, we are trying to do in our day-by-day running the club to change completely the mentality and to being a model for our fans.
Excellent. Thank you, Ramón. So, David, you've appeared. Does that mean that our time is up?
Effectively, yes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm afraid, yes, we've run out of time. But listen, thank you so much in any case for guiding the discussion, Neill. And just by way of brief sum up, first of all, I mean, I'm so grateful to you 3 speakers here for telling us about your projects, for telling us about the incredible organisations that you lead and how you're standing up for your purpose. From Mike hearing about Oakland roots and harnessing the magic of the city, the power of sport to be a force for social good, and talking about how actually living the purpose is the way to be successful. That's one of the take homes that I've got from this particular panel, and how you actually just a little bit of I suppose self-reflection, examining what your own purpose is, engaging with your players. What do they stand for? How can you facilitate that for them? How does that align with what you have as your aims? And you're looking through your own specific lens, and that then informs how you say what you say and how you communicate with your fans, especially around the very delicate topics but important topics of racial injustice and social injustice. From Julie, I mean, what an incredible project you have and you're building there. Of course, you know, Angel City FC already has been making waves, but just explaining the purpose and the impact that you want to have. And those central pillars, equality, essentials, and education, and representing women in business, and building an organization which, as you say, is the union of mission and capital, that they don't just have to be, you know, just living alongside each other, but they can be positively influencing one another. And that is the reason why people will want to do business with you and where you will become a global brand, I'm absolutely sure. So listen, I think 3 clubs that stand for slightly different things, but they are really sort of showing themselves to their audiences. And of course, from Ramón, of course, as far as Betis is concerned, I mean, one of the real advantages that Betis has, it's got such an active fan base that they're known throughout Spain. They're known in Europe too, as, you know, very, very passionate, very, very driven. And you know, we love Betis, whether you support them or not. They're often people's second club. And I think that you'll have a great opportunity there to penetrate into your fan base and really get the results that you're looking for with those drivers that you mentioned, you know, talking about, you know, the environment as your main platform. That's what you're going for, forever green. And I think that it really will penetrate the fan base that you've got, not just in Seville, but further afield as well. So yes, listen, I think we managed to cover an awful lot of ground there in a relatively short space of time. But thank you very much indeed for all of your insights, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. To Neill for guiding the conversation, to Ramón, Mike, and also to Julie for giving us your insights. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Okay. So on we go. We talked a little bit earlier on and talking about, you know, I suppose matters squarely on the pitch with video analysis with Pixelot. Well, we're going to be going back to a similar theme on data, but data doesn't just apply on the field of play. That is coming up, and it is in fact in partnership and in collaboration with DribLab. So we've had video analysis with Pixelot, we've got data with DribLab, and it's coming up in 5 minutes time.